Welcome to the Unique Dog Experience. Today's segment is the science of canine behavior. To best illustrate the science of canine behavior, we're going to share a podcast called Dog Dish with Deborah, featuring premier dog trainer Deborah Rosen of Good Citizen Dog. To learn more about Deborah and her positive, reward-based training, visit goodcitizendog.com. That's goodcitizendog.com. Now, let's turn to the podcast Dog Dish with Deborah.
Thanks for listening to Dog Dish.
I'm Deborah Rosen. For the past 15 years, as founder and owner of Good Citizen Dog, I've been helping people by educating them about the science of canine behavior. What I'm going to do is help you create peaceful living with your dog.
Hi, I'm Dina, and I'm producing Dog Dish with Deborah. I'm here to help Deborah give you everything you need to have for peaceful living with your dog. Hey, Deborah.
Hey, Dina.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited for the podcast today.
Yes, we're going to be doing a podcast called Total Recall.
Are we going to get to do our Arnold Schwarzenegger impression?
You get to do as much Arnold Schwarzenegger as you'd like.
I'm told that I do bad impressions, but I might throw one in just for the heck of it.
I don't blame you.
Anyway.
I like to do Arnold myself.
Arnold. Yes, Total Recall. Folks, if you're wondering what that means, it's a trainer's way of saying getting your dog to come when called, which is one of the biggest problems and one that comes up almost every single day with our clients.
It is a big one, and it's nice when you can get the dog to recall when you want them to, not just when they want to.
When the dog feels like it, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right, Dee. I mean, dogs are like people, and they have selective hearing, and you can't really blame a dog for not coming half the time.
Well, in former podcasts, we also talked about the shiny keys, the leaves that go everywhere. They get pretty easily distracted.
Right.
So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more in depth about that distraction and what we can do to combat it?
It's like this. Dogs have several things going on that average people do not. For example, they have this incredible sensory overload due to the fact that their senses are so just over the top, powerful, crazy, ridiculous. They have the sense of smell that's just off the charts. They can hear things that we can't hear. They can see things that are practically microscopic. You take them from the inside, where they might have an okay ability to come when called, which is what recall is. And then you take them outside, and it's just all bets are off, actually.
And that's what we talked again about in a former podcast, They Can't Generalize. Why don't you explain a little bit more to our listeners about how they can employ better recall, any recall?
By understanding that concept.
Exactly.
Yeah. So folks, we've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about this because it's so very important as it pertains to dogs and their ability to learn and their inability to learn, which is that you can think that they know something, and then you take them to a unique place, or you go to a unique location that has all kinds of different or unique sounds or sensory activity, and suddenly they have forgotten what you think they should know. Why? Because they haven't learned it in that environment yet.
And they're going to revert back to their particular strength, which is automated behavior to keep them safe. You're going to hunt for something, you're going to play with something, you're going to hide and sleep in a cave somewhere. So they're going to go into their natural behavior if you're not giving them their job to do, which is teaching them how you want them to behave in that new space.
That's right. And there's something else to know about dogs coming when called, which most people don't realize, which is that when dogs are called, they often revert to their wildness, which is to feel as if there might be a predator. They're not going to come towards something. They're going to do what companion dogs do or pet dogs do, which is they're going to go into the chase me kind of mentality.
And what's involved with the chase me mentality? Because that sounds fun.
It's fun. It's fun for the dog. It's not too fun for the humans. You call them or you approach them and suddenly they actually revert and go in the opposite direction. You're forced to do something which you should never do, which is chase them.
So if you don't chase a dog, Deborah, then how is it you're going to get that dog to do what you want and manipulate that behavior?
There are the rules of recall.
Oh, let's go over those.
As Arnold would say, they're all rules.
Let's do the recall rule.
Okay.
That was terrible.
I know. That was terrible. Let's not do impressions anymore. So the first rule of recall is when you call a dog, you need to be happy. They need to think that you're throwing them the doggy party of the year. And by that, I mean you have to sound extremely friendly. Your voice needs to be higher. Guys have a hard time with this, and I tease them. I tell them, if all these singers who go in their falsetto voices like Adam Levine and Al Green and some of these people from way back when, if those guys can get up high, you can get up high too. It's not going to hurt you too bad.
It makes all the difference in the world. Jumping up, throwing your arms, waving them, being excited, calling your dog.
Yeah.
That just makes them think that it's...
So that's rule number 1.
Right? That's excitement. I'm coming to be part of that.
Be happy, be excited, be animated. Yeah, I have clients who can't get animated, and they go, Rex, come. And I say, you got to get a little more happy than that. And they say, that's as happy as I get, Deborah. But, that aside, rule number 2 is you're never going to walk toward the dog. You're always going to walk away from the dog, backward, facing the dog.
Well, that seems counterintuitive.
It does, but what you're basically doing is you're luring the dog by moving. You're providing a more animated reality for them by going in a backward motion and then motioning toward them. The hand signal is you take your arm and you wave it towards your chest, and you actually pound on your chest to make a sound as well.
Oh, nice. So you're putting all effort in there. You're getting the look, you're getting the tone, you're getting the movements, you're getting a lot involved.
That's right. And then as the dog comes to you, we do a classical conditioning model. This is fancy stuff, but it's really not. You're going to, as the dog comes toward you, approaches you, you're touching their collar as you deliver their treat.
I always like to throw in a little ear scratch when I'm touching the collar. That's just for me personally, but I think it helps. Because then I get to pet the dog, I get to feed the dog a treat, and the dog is twice as happy to see me.
I see.
As I'm holding
because
that collar.
That's even new to me, Dee. Yeah.
It helps me. It helped remind me to grab the collar when I very first started class with you.
Yeah.
And to remember. And I got to do that by putting in something I wanted as well. Which is to give them a little love
scratch.
Right.
Okay. Well, the reason that you're going to grab the collar is so that just in case the dog decides to play catch me or keep away, you've got a hold of them. And you're basically doing the classical conditioning model, which is conditioning by association. The dog associates, you touch my collar, I'm going to get a treat. And then it stops playing keep away or chase me.
For that moment. But beware, like you say about holding onto the collar, they may want to go right back into that game like a 2-year-old.
That's right.
Over and over.
That's right. And, there are a couple more rules. This is recall is all full of rules. You never want to call the dog for anything that he or she perceives as punishment. And so I made this mistake with one of my former dogs before I was a dog trainer, the wonderful Oliver Twist, who we'd call him and then toss him in the bathtub for a bath. I mean, he'd stop coming to me after that because he figured every time you call me, I'm going to get a bath, and he hated baths.
And you speaking to exactly that very point, I would see people call the dog and get frustrated because the dog finally came, and then they punish the dog. And why would the dog come if the end result of finally coming to you comes with something negative?
Exactly.
Right. I like that point. That's very good. Number 3 was a great point.
Yeah. Was that number 3 or was that number 4?
I think that was number 3.
Let's review.
Okay.
First off, always sound happy and excited.
Right.
Okay. Always walk backwards. Right. To lure the dog towards you.
Right.
Using your hand signal.
Which is your arm extended, palm out, touch the chest, bring it in to touch.
Right. Okay. Make a great big motion.
Okay.
It's like, come to me. Right.
Yep. Okay.
And then when they get there, you're going to touch their collar, deliver a treat.
Oh, that is 4.
Okay.
Is there 5?
5 is you're never going to do anything with respect to recall that seems like a punishment to the dog.
Oh my goodness, we're already up to 5 and it's gone so quickly, and it seems like really easy, useful tips that are going to get me where I want to go. Are there more?
Well, I have an exercise, a game, really practical game.
Okay.
You're going to take a treat, a harder treat this time, one that you can hear if it hits a hard floor. And so you're going to work on a hard floor like linoleum or wood or pergo or something that will echo a little bit. And you're going to take the treat and you're going to actually paint a a line across the dog's nose. And as you're painting that line, the dog follows your hand, and you're going to toss that treat very close to the dog and say, go get it. And the dog is going to see it, hear it, follow it, get it. As you do that, and the dog is going for the treat, you're going to move it to another part of the room, and you're going to do it again. So you're going to call the dog, you're going to say, Rex, come. And it has to sound like that, Rex, come.
Maybe if you have to move your feet a little bit, if you got to get
you're going to move. You're always going to move backwards.
Move into the
new spot
backwards. Excellent.
Okay, and the dog comes to you, and their reward is, guess what the reward is, Dina?
Ooh, are you going to give it a treat?
I'm going to send it to go get it again.
Excellent.
In another direction.
So I don't actually hand the treat to them right when they come over to me. I let them see me do that paint by the nose again and toss the treat again.
Right. And don't, the younger the dog is, the shorter the distance that you throw it. As the dog gets older and so if we're working with puppies to start with, and then we're cycling into the dog getting older, or you're working with an older dog, they have more depth perception. Okay. Just like people or kids that are older, you can start throwing it a little bit further each time, and it becomes a game. The game is go get the treat and then come back.
Go get it, come. What a fun game.
It is.
Go get a treat and I come back.
We play it in our puppy kindergarten. We play it in puppy 2 class, and then we add in a lot of other recall exercises. And there are many, folks. There are many kinds of fun exercises that you can play to get a dog to come when called. What I will caution you not to do not call the dog if you cannot enforce the recall, meaning this. Dina, I don't want folks calling their dogs if they're in an area that's so big they can't get the dog to come. Because guess what?
Oh, well, I can only imagine you're going to waste your efforts.
Exactly.
Okay.
Every time you call that dog and it doesn't come, you're losing ground on the recall, on getting that dog to come when called. You want to be able to enforce it or reward the dog and have the dog come every time you call them and be able to be successful, because that's really what makes for a learning experience. You're basically learning by reinforcing the right behavior at the right time and being successful each time.
And complete. One of the things that I think you touched on, I wanted to expand a little bit, that's extremely important, is follow through to completion. Because the more you just say, come, or do, and you don't really get that to an end,
right,
it falls apart on its own too. Now you've just lost the word.
It's Charlie Brown.
Right,
Want.
Right. That's awesome tips, Steve.
Yeah.
Awesome. And they got a little training trick to do along with their training tips.
Go get it, come.
Love that.
Well, this has been Total Recall with Deborah.
And Dina.
Thanks for tuning in.
For 15 years, Good Citizen Dog has been the premier destination for dog training. Good Citizen uses the most modern, positive, reward-based training techniques. Good Citizen Dog is creating peaceful living with your dog. For more information about services, go to goodcitizendog.com. That's citizen with a Z. Or call 855-936-3649. That's 855-936-3649.
Thank you for tuning in to the Unique Dog Experience. For all things Unique Dogs, visit uniquedogs.com. That's UNEEKDOGS.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and our podcast is available on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud.